Hey everyone, it's Kim. I just wanted to check in with you to let you know that the sound quality might not be the best on the upcoming episode, and we're really sorry about that. We are working out the kinks currently and trying to make sure that future episodes sound so much better. Also, if you ever hear my dog in the background, I'm really sorry about that. She's just passionate about life and this podcast. Talk to you soon.
Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to
Confidently controversial.
Yay!
Good morning, everyone. Happy end of February.
It's the end of February. I don't know if people know that we record this in the morning.
Yes, early Sunday mornings.
Yes, it's early as Sunday morning.
Because we're old people.
I know.
I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, we need to embrace the fact that we're old people and like talk about,
old people things.
Yeah. Like you should get
my neck.
You should get a mammogram and stuff like that.
I did get a mammogram this weekend. I got my mammogram on yesterday morning. My annual mammogram. It is very important to do that. It's not as bad as people think.
Well, I was thinking too, like we shouldn't pretend that we're like young and cool and hip and everything like that.
Aww. We like to pretend.
We should be truthful with the people and let them know. Us ladies that watched all these crazy '80s movies are a little
okay. I'm going to say
long in the tooth, as they say.
Right, but I mean, I also think that we're not like lame.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't say we're lame.
No,
like for
let
our
the people
age,
decide.
I think we're pretty cool. Yeah.
You're right.
Oh.
Well, I wanted to start off this podcast with a small gift for you.
Oh my God.
I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
So I feel like this is something that I saw and I was just like, well, one of us needs to own this thing. And since I saw it, I bought it for you.
Okay.
And I feel like, when we make it real big as podcasters and we have our own like pod loft or whatever it could be our first decoration in the
Okay. Oh my God, I'm so
You're so excited. Close your eyes.
Eyes are closed. My eyes are closed. I'm gonna have my hands reached out. It's a box. I'm opening my eyes, and this Dr. Ian Malcolm, gray-haired Dr. Ian Malcolm. So he's the older version from the newer movie. He's in his total pose. So this is what's his name?
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. So funny because the way we do this podcast is that both Kim and I kind of keep lists of movies and then decide what we're going to, like each of us picks a different one each episode so the other one doesn't know. So I have like a running list and I feel like this week at least 2 of the entries on my running list have been Jeff Goldblum movies, like a young Jeff Goldblum. Okay. And I'm like, we're going to get there at some point. Sure. Maybe we're getting there today.
We're not,
okay.
But still, I mean, I feel like Jeff Goldblum has had, many iterations.
And his mom really liked Jeff Goldblum a lot. Like, I think my mom had a little crush on him.
I just like that because he's got his like chest open and everything like that.
Like old but sexy. See, you can still be old but be hip.
Sexy Goldblum.
Sexy Goldblum. He's like a little long in the tooth, but
he's longer in the tooth than we are. Let's say
he is
by quite
by a lot. I think he is like our parents' age, if not like.
Yeah, definitely.
Like he could be. He could be our dad.
Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, so
my mom Nancy's at home like.
Yeah, he could.
All right. Well, you lead the way because it's your turn to pick the movie.
All right. So you ready to talk about it? You have anything else to talk about?
Do I have anything else? We covered the mammogram.
Yeah, sure.
We covered the fact that we're old.
Yeah.
Do want to give a quick shout out to Pete the dog.
Oh.
Rest in peace, Pete. Well, not yet, but within this morning, Pete is my in-laws' dog, Poodle, who's been alive for 15 years now, and today they're sending him off. They call it the Rainbow Bridge. Is that where they send the dogs?
I don't know.
He was he was a dog. He had a lot of personality. I've known Pete for 15 years of my life. I've known him since they brought him home, and we're gonna miss Pete.
You have high praise for Pete. Pete was a dog.
Pete was a dog. Pete was a poodle dog.
Yeah,
and
poor Pete.
Poor Pete. I mean, not poor Pete. Pete was well, my in-laws treat Pete, have given Pete this life of just like, they would just feed him from the table. My father-in-law would always talk about, like, look at his great take, like how gentle he was with like taking the food from his hand. I'm like, why are you feeding this dog from your hands? Like, Pete lived the life of like kings.
Okay, well,
So he had a
good.
great life, and today he's being sent off. So
fare thee well, Pete.
fare thee well, Pete. We will miss thee.
Well, I feel like we need to talk about something more positive.
Okay. Well, I had to throw it out there.
All right.
In memoriam, Pete.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. At the end, we'll show pictures, but it'll be a podcast, so you'll just hear some music. But we'll be looking at
Maybe we'll
pictures
put a picture of Pete on our social media if you have one.
Oh, okay, I do.
Okay.
I'll
All right.
put some Pete out there.
All right, perfect. All right, well then, I think we should start talking about the movie because I'm really excited about this
Okay, okay. Shifting gears away from dead dogs, too.
movies
Okay,
that we watched when we were younger.
okay.
So, you and I have been kind of talking about the different types of movies that were out and about when we were kids, and I kind of felt like one that was kind of missing from our initial movies was the dark comedy or the black comedy.
Okay. Well, you say, okay.
Dark comedy.
Dark comedy.
But in the early 80s, they called them black comedies, which meant that they were just a little bit, they were comedies, but they had a little bit of a dark side to them.
Okay, I have no idea what this is going to be at all.
Okay.
I'm really excited about it.
Okay.
Dark comedy.
Yes.
In the 80s.
Yeah. All right, so here we go.
Okay.
Movie was made and released in 1989.
Okay, so that makes us 12.
Mm-hmm. It premiered at Sundance in January of 1989.
Okay. So they had Sundance in 1989?
Yeah.
Okay.
It won an Independent Spirit Award for Best First Feature and other awards for screenplays.
Okay.
So, it's had a long life. It has had other iterations, including a musical and a new TV show. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to know who's in it?
I guess.
Okay.
About what the movie is. Should I guess or should I let you go? If I guess it, I'm going to feel pretty proud of myself.
All right, well then feel proud, guess.
Beetlejuice.
Incorrect.
Oh. I was thinking about this because there was a cartoon. When you said new show and you said Broadway, that has gone to Broadway.
It has, yeah.
A new show.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is not Beetlejuice, but it does star Winona Ryder.
Okay.
I think this is our first Winona Ryder movie.
Our first Winona Ryder.
Our first.
Okay.
It also stars the person that I assumed all of my young teen life that I was going to marry, Christian Slater.
Oh, okay. I know what movie this is. There was a show.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, keep going. I know what it is. This is great. This is great.
Also stars Shannon Doherty of 90210 fame. And some lesser-known actresses, Lisa Ann Falk, Kim Walker, and Penelope Milford. What's the movie, Emily?
The movie's Heathers.
It is Heathers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, my older sister's name is Heather. So, I feel like if it was 1989, so I always think of a lot of things in terms of my older sister, because I feel like she was, even though she was only like 3 years older than me, she was able to she was like a world away.
Sure.
Almost. So she was able to see a lot of this stuff. So if I was 12, she was 15.
Okay.
So I think this movie was I feel like I was maybe not allowed to see it, but my sister was.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, tell me some facts about it.
Okay.
You just told me a lot of facts about it.
I did. It's in Ohio.
Okay.
That's really the only fact I have. No. So,
shot in Ohio.
It was made into a musical in 2014. It didn't last very long as a musical, and the TV show actually came out in 2018.
Okay.
So it's pretty recent, but it was canceled because of it was all a lot of school shootings and things like that have been taking place, obviously, pretty much constantly.
Right.
So it just wasn't a good vibe for that because there's
There's death in this movie,
Yeah,
as I
yeah.
recall.
Mhm.
I mean, there's one thing in particular about this movie that I remember all the time. Like, there's a line from this movie that I feel like I say a lot
Mhm.
in my life. Not I don't say it a lot in my life, but it's the line that I think of. I love my dead gay son.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
Yeah. I'm kind of interested to watch how that storyline is portrayed. Because I do remember that they like
they made them appear that
they were gay, these two like football stars or whatever, and that they like killed themselves, but actually that's not what happened, right?
Right, right. But I guess that's nice that their dad still.
Yeah. I feel like
them.
acceptance. I was like, that's very
in the end, they
accepting.
thought it would be whatever, but the dad was cool with it.
Yeah, that's good. So that's a good thing. I did want to say that so there are multiple Heathers in this movie: Heather Duke, Heather McNamara, and Heather Chandler.
Okay.
And do you remember what Winona Ryder's character's name is?
No, I don't.
Veronica Sawyer.
I don't remember. I remember things from this movie for sure. Mostly I remember Christian Slater.
Yes.
Oh my God, Christian. I'm excited to see a young Christian Slater, which might make me, like, that's the weird thing about, you were talking earlier about how we're a little long in the tooth. So I just want to address this. So one thing that's very strange about getting older is that you watch these things and it's like, I know we're going to watch Christian Slater and he's probably like a 20-year-old in this movie. And, I still see him with my like young person eyes.
Uh-huh.
I don't have a chance with Christian Slater now. Maybe I do. I don't know. What's he up to?
I don't know. Christian Slater was like my one true love. I used to like have full on like stories that I told myself that like we would go to award shows together.
Oh, no.
And I would wear my Christmas dance dress and everyone would be like, who are you wearing? And I'd be like, it's merry-go-round. And he would be like, this is why I love her, because she's so down to earth and regular. I had like this, so I also did all these collages when I was younger.
I remember your collages.
And
we've been friends a long time.
And so I subscribed to a lot of magazines and therefore had an overabundance of paper in my home and made these
fire hazard.
Right. And made these poster board sized collages, and I had one that was solely dedicated to Christian Slater. And I'll try to find it.
Did you think you still have it?
I think it's somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I know I didn't throw them. How could I? How could I throw that art away? And I also had one that was completely dedicated to 90210, but maybe that's a story for another time.
Yeah, 90210 I never really watched. I knew about it because of like, the zeitgeist.
Right.
So I feel like I knew about it. My sister was way into it because again, like I feel like that was like her freshman year of college or like her senior year in high school, freshman year in college. And like, it was a very big deal show for her. And I think that the reason I didn't like it was because she liked it. So I had to be like, no, it's not cool.
Shannon Doherty is in this movie. She's from 90210.
Yeah, famously.
And,
she also had breast cancer. We're bringing everything back around.
Really?
Mammogram.
Yeah.
Get your mammogram. Right. But go ahead.
And she was, so she was on 90210. 90210 was, I love that movie. It was that show. It was one of my favorite shows. And I remember one time we had summer band camp.
Okay.
It was
level nerd alert, everybody.
We're just trying to remind you guys that we're not cool, no matter what else.
Why are you doing that? Why, Kim? The people don't know us. They could think we're really cool. Why don't you want them to?
But anyway, so we had band camp in the summertime, and it was the summer that they had a summer version of 90210. Like, it was like they worked at like a, the Beverly Hills Country Club or something like that. And it was a big deal. And I remember being at band camp and missing 90210 and being real sad. But anyway,
let's think of the sacrifices you made for your art.
I did.
Because like Kim, let's talk about Kim in band. Kim did not play an instrument in band. Kim was a guard person.
Color guard.
Of the color guard was Kim Tweed.
Sure was. I wasn't playing that cool trombone.
Only the coolest among us can play not just the trombone, the marching trombone.
Right.
It takes some upper arm strength.
I'm sure.
I can open a jar.
You do a horn pop with the best of them.
Tell you what. Best in the biz over here.
All right, so Heather's. I'm excited. I feel like I did watch this movie quite a bit. I don't remember if it was when I was 12, but definitely like in early high school. Um, I watched it quite a bit. I think that, it was definitely a particular type of movie. Like I said, like it was popular, I would assume.
But I also feel like it was very popular, like people know, but it wasn't popular amongst like the popular people. So I feel like this movie, just like, other things from the 80s, like there is that theme of popular people. And this movie also, when you were saying a musical, it's very much Mean Girls, but a lot darker of a Mean Girls. So, and there is like a Mean Girls musical.
Yeah.
And
they're making another Mean Girls movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, I'm not,
Yeah.
it's definitely a great Samantha George, man. But it's very, it's in this Regina George, whatever.
Come on.
I don't know, but I feel like it's very much in the same vein.
Yeah.
This movie,
Right.
like if this movie didn't exist, I don't think Mean Girls would exist.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I feel like it's very much the same thing. You have like the leader Mean Girls, like the popular crowd of girls. I recall like they all dressed a certain way. I feel like they were also rich. So there was also like classist thing, which I also think is very much a thing
of the 80s.
Of the 80s.
About all
time.
Yeah.
Time. I feel like a lot of movies I've been watching recently are very much in that same vein. Like I just watched last night, I took the fam to see the new Ant-Man movie. And it has that theme to it, like the
haves and the have-nots.
Has it, the powerful and the powerless,
okay.
I would say, and how like people with great power kind of like have the ability to just destroy lives that don't matter to the people who have this great power. So I feel like that movie, Glass Onion, had that. There's something else that I saw recently that was very much like White Lotus, obviously, is about very like rich people. The menu. Yeah. So I feel like that's definitely this thing that's coming out back now, but definitely in Heather's, that was part of it. And then you had the Winona Ryder character who was like not the popular one, right?
I think she starts hanging out with the popular group, but I think you have Christian Slater's character who I would assume has some sort of mental illness, and we'll have to watch and see, like an undiagnosed mental illness, because he like comes in and is just like he's gonna kill everybody.
I don't remember a lot of that. I just remember him being like cute.
Yeah.
I think too, he likes Winona Ryder and she likes him.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to see.
I think it's kind of. Do you watch that show?
I started watching it upon your recommendation. Okay. I started watching the first season of that a little while back, and I couldn't get through it. It was a little bit, I don't know. It was sometimes when things are that dark and with like murdering, let's go back to getting older. I feel like it's too stressful for me to watch things like that. And the things that I choose to watch nowadays, I feel like I choose to watch. Like sometimes I want to be light because I feel like the world is like a scary, crazy place. So I can't watch the murdering.
Okay. Well, I will just say about you. I mean, the lead character in it is a terrible, terrible person. And he does do murders, and he
does a murder like Putin does a war.
Yeah. And but at the same time, he is this person that's very attractive, and I feel like that was like something that was disturbing about that show is like you were watching it and you see this person who's terrible and you're just like, oh, he's super hot. And and I think that this, I'm gonna guess, is the same kind of thing. Like, Christian Slater's character is gonna be super terrible, but at the same time, 12-year-old, 15-year-old Kim Tweed is like, let's go.
Yeah, I feel like that's, I do have to, I think over time as we go on with this podcast and we start looking at the types of people that both you and I were attracted to at this time, I definitely think like it's one thing to be like a bad boy. This is like a very bad boy who wants to
You're a very bad boy.
Christian Slater, yeah, very bad boy. Now, hold it. Let's just talk about Christian Slater for a minute.
Okay.
Was he not, like, wasn't his big thing that he was, like, the new Jack Nicholson? Because he kind of has, like, a Jack Nicholson vibe to him. Now, I definitely would never have picked up on that as, like, a child watching this, but I feel like now as an adult, I'm like, oh, yeah, he is very, like, Jack Nicholson-y.
I guess so. I think he's just a good actor. And I think at that time,
I will defend him to the end. We went to many an Emmy party together.
That's right.
So
he's
nothing like Jack Nicholson.
No, but I think that he was just, I think because he was young and he was a good actor, but then I think he also was in so many movies, tons and tons of movies. And I think he was in a lot of crap movies. And I think that maybe he kind of got pigeonholed a little bit as to not being the serious actor. But now,
a TV show now or something?
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff now. Like, whenever I see him, I'm just like, yeah, yay, Christian Slater, good for you, buddy.
We could have had it all.
Yeah.
I don't, like, okay, so I remember this movie being a big one. I remember Gleaming the Cube being a very big deal.
Pump Up the Volume.
I never saw Pump Up the Volume.
Oh my gosh, it's on my list.
Oh, yes.
It was
actually that was one of those movies I think I wasn't.
Never seen it.
There was this whole era of, I feel like at a certain point, which is very strange to me because we had HBO in my house and I feel like we were allowed to watch a lot of things that were on there. But then I feel like at a certain point there was a crackdown that happened and I wasn't allowed to see a lot of things. Maybe like things in the movies, or maybe if they didn't come to HBO,
right?
Once things were very limited. It was very limited, but like I feel like I wanted to see this. And again, my sister may have been allowed. It's like that with Breakfast Club. I wasn't allowed to watch Breakfast Club.
Right.
Somehow I either snuck it or I watched it as soon as I was 8, or my parents like acquiesced at a certain point. But then there was what else? I feel like there's like a lot of movies like around this time which like I really wasn't supposed to watch. But either I'd watch them at a friend's house or I'd watch them like later on. Like we've talked before, Dirty Dancing.
Right.
I've never watched that star. I've seen it all, like just because I've seen like pockets of it as you know over time. I've seen it, but I've never watched it start to finish.
Oh, well, get ready. We're doing it.
I am ready.
I also think too. So like along those same lines, like my dad used to. We had all these VHS tapes that had multiple movies on them, and my dad would.
Of course, you get 3 on them.
You get three, and they were in these brown boxes.
Yeah, they were,
and then they had
better. The more expensive ones were.
Well, yeah, sure, only the finest things for the tweets, and they had these little cards in them, and my dad had this like really neat. Handwriting, like really neat block letters, maybe. And I remember they always had the 3 titles on there, and then he would write them on the spine. So like we had this closet. But I also remember that it would be weird because they would tape like random things together. Like we had one tape was Follow That Bird.
Oh no.
Siobhan's first birthday party and Pretty Woman.
You had to skip over Siobhan's birthday party to watch Pretty Woman.
Yeah, and we weren't really allowed to watch Pretty Woman.
Okay.
Follow That Bird, total kids movie.
Yeah.
Ease into a birthday
Siobhan's
party.
First birthday party was total kids movie.
Ease into a birthday party and then get into the movie about a hooker with a particle.
Now, I was allowed to watch that. Oddly enough, I was able to watch Pretty Woman from the beginning, I believe.
Yeah, so I remember that there were very much these VHS tapes that had, 3 things on them, and I wasn't allowed to watch, like, usually one of the 3 things.
Oh, yeah, same. Like,
and it's not like you could just, like, choose, like, a DVD. You could just go to that thing. You had to, like, fast forward.
Yeah, whatever. There was a tape. The tape that had the Breakfast Club on it, I feel like that was at the end. I don't think we had Heathers. Was not a movie that I think
we
was.
didn't either.
No. But I'm excited to watch
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Don't they play, like, croquet in this movie?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I remember the croquet.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Drano being a thing in this movie.
Yeah. Corn nuts.
I remember their outfits. Like, did they try and dress alike? Was that a thing?
I think in colors.
Right.
Well, we'll find out.
But I mean, do you think that, like, just connecting this back to, like, how this may have affected our brains, I mean, do you think that just in terms of, like, liking the bad boy, or do you also think, I feel like I thought a lot about being popular and, like, popularity when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like a little kid, I feel like I thought about that kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah.
and that stuff still exists. Like my daughter, but I remember it's funny because the way my daughter equated it was like she said, "Oh, they're gymnastics people,"
Okay.
and that was how she. Yeah.
Well, I think this is definitely, I remember there's football people that are popular. And football always seems to be the popular thing. But I don't remember what these girls do that makes them popular.
Oh, they wear matching outfits and they play croquet. I mean, that would make anyone popular, would it not?
I think I
They
should
got
do
money.
it.
I mean, I'm sure they got money.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm excited to see it. We will get back with you shortly, and we will talk more about the actual movie, not just our broken recollection of what this very popular movie of Heather's is. So we'll be right back.
Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial.
All right, we're back, and I have a question for you, Kim.
Yes.
Are we going to prom or hell?
I really wanted to start out this section by saying greetings and salutations.
That was another good one. This movie had it all.
It really does have all the problems.
I mean, okay, I just want to start out by saying that it holds up as a film. Like, I can see why it was as popular and famous of a movie as it was.
Yeah.
Like,
It's well done.
It's well done. It's very interesting. It's not like some sort of, cheesy, 80s pop fluff film. Like, there's definitely some art involved in this.
Yeah. I feel like watching it as an adult, I was like, oh, somebody probably talked about this movie in like a film class or something like that.
Oh, well, I mean, I've already started putting together my master class.
I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay. So the things that struck me immediately were, well, I guess we should do a synopsis of it because I don't feel like we did. Feel like we started talking about it.
Sure.
And I assume that people listening most have heard of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like myself, as I watched this movie this time, I realized that I don't recall, if I watched it, I didn't watch it.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
I was watching it oh, look at their outfits, or Christian Slater's hot, which he is.
Or it's cool. This movie's cool.
It's
very funny and it's silly.
And
I feel
the language in it is
yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very highly stylized movie, for sure. But the film itself, do you want to give a brief synopsis of it, or shall I?
Well, I could read something briefly from IMDb because,
Go for it.
Okay. It says, in Ohio, Veronica Sawyer is a teenager trying to participate in the clique at Westerbrook High School of her schoolmates Heathers. I didn't write this. Someone else wrote this. It's not very well.
Okay.
Duke, McNamara, and Chandler. She supports their nasty and shallow behavior, just aiming to be a popular student. One day, the newcomer in town, Jason Dean, starts dating Veronica, and he questions her relationship with the Heathers. When one of the Heathers is accidentally killed, they forge a suicide note, and even dead, she becomes more popular among the students.
Yeah, it's like this. It kind of creates this bizarro world. There's definitely hints, and it's funny because they say Bonnie and Clyde in it, and I'm thinking oh, was it like Bonnie and Clyde? But I don't feel, in some ways, because Bonnie and Clyde is you have two people kind of going up against society, which yes, but the thing that I really caught on to and started going a little bit down the road of as I watched it was because they play croquet, as we mentioned previously.
Yes.
What other movie or popular culture thing do you think of with croquet?
Alice in Wonderland?
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, and it definitely has.
It is Alice in Wonderland, which I did not think of before. Mm-hmm. But that book is about a critique on upper class society of that Victorian era.
Right.
And this is definitely upper class. Now, when we talked about it before, I was thinking oh, it has to do with the haves and have-nots, but it does not, because they're all haves.
Yeah.
They're all rich.
They're just poorly behaved rich kids.
Right. Even JD.
Yeah.
The bad guy, Christian Slater, he's really rich as well.
Yes.
They
Yeah, so
are.
it doesn't have any, it really doesn't have anything to do with that. It just happens to be like more like, I mean, they're all rich. They're all pretty popular. JD is definitely on the outside of it, but at the same,
But it's just because he's moved around.
yeah, yeah, he's definitely holds power within the school.
He does. He does. And like immediately it's almost like immediately the girls, the Heathers and then Veronica, who is Winona Ryder, you know, she immediately is attracted to him. And it's almost like they can sniff out their own or something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
So it was never an issue of like, oh, you can't go out with that boy. It
right.
was just, that wasn't even a thing with it. I thought so. I started going down the place of Alice in Wonderland, which I definitely feel like that is there. I think that if you have Winona Ryder as the Alice character in this, you have like the main Heather is like the Queen of Hearts, and you have the two football players are like Tweedledum, Tweedledee. And I feel like JD is like the Mad Hatter, almost. Who's like, we're going to take down the world. And then you have, but I couldn't figure out the White Rabbit was what I kept going back to. And I kept thinking like, well, who's the White Rabbit? And I was wondering if the Shannon Doherty character almost wasn't like White Rabbity, but she didn't lead her. Like, I feel like the White Rabbit is what leads Alice into Wonderland. And I couldn't figure that one out. But I think there's definitely a through line. I think that they had to have some thought, and I'm going to be Googling that later to see if that was a connection.
Well, one of the fascinating things to watch throughout it is, very much in the beginning of the movie, they're all associated with a color, right?
Yes.
So, main Heather is red, middle Heather is yellow, then Shannon Doherty Heather is green.
Right.
And Veronica is blue.
Right.
And then watching that
means something.
Yeah.
Throughout. And like the thing I kept going to was, so you have red, blue, and yellow are all primary colors. Green is not a primary color.
Not.
And she is like a Heather on the outs.
Right. And then also when her friend Betty comes over, she's orange.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Right.
They don't let her play one of the regular colors, like even when she was trying to be friends with her again.
Right.
She doesn't play one of the regular colors. And what's incredible throughout is, too, watching them in their own spaces, how much their spaces were made to match their color. Like for Veronica, her bedroom, she had a blue phone and a blue radio and blue striped bed sheets.
Right.
And then her walls are blue. And then when you go into Shannon Doherty's, even when in the dream in the house, like all of her, like she has like green dish soap,
right,
and all these green things.
Well, I was trying to think like what else do those color, because yes, that is interesting, and it's also interesting even outside of their spaces. Like at the end, when she and Christian Slater are fighting in the boiler room, it's blue light.
Yeah.
So it's very like, but okay. So then that got me thinking. Well, what is red? Red is blood. Red is savagery. Red is like primal,
also power,
love. Like it's very symbolic of those things. Blue, to me, the thing I think of immediately is like water, which is usually used in movies to symbolize like rebirth.
Sure.
So is this like Winona Ryder's awakening of like, oh, society's kind of fucked up. And I'm kind of seeing this in a new way, and I'm going to take down this system.
And then at the end, she takes back the red scrunchie.
She does.
Because she's going to take the power. She's going to become the new leader and the new power position person.
Right. Yes. Which, again, I think Queen of Hearts.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
But then, like, yellow and green, I mean, obviously, they're, again, just those very primary colors, except for green. But like yellow, like the yellow Heather, she's not really even in it that much.
Right. She's pretty weak.
But like I think yellow to me is like sun.
Right. She's the cheerleader.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then green is like growth.
And green is also like jealousy.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Look at yeah. There's a lot going on. So I mean, again, from a level of film as high art, film being used as a tool to like say something bigger, I think that this movie is definitely that. Like it was a good movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
Problematic because we could let's just go through a real quick list of all the problems.
Okay. So many problems.
Well, there's the eating disorder that's basically just like mocked and made fun of.
Yes.
There's
Fat shaming. Right.
Bullying. There's a lot of use of the word fag,
sure,
which is not kind.
Right.
And a lot of gay bashing and gay stereotypes and things like that.
It's interesting though because I don't know that the movie itself is homophobic.
Okay.
Because I think they're almost saying like, okay, we're going to turn this thing because society is homophobic.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like the movie, the from the point of view of whoever's making this movie, I don't feel like they thought it was funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's a critique on this larger society that would feel shame towards if you were gay or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I feel like for that time, I feel like it wasn't anti-gay for sure. But, but also during that time, saying the F word for gay was definitely what people used a lot.
That's what people used. Yeah.
So it was just.
Yeah, I found it. I don't know if I can say it.
You can say it. I mean, you can say it in the part because it is in the movie.
Right.
And I feel like we're both kind of looking at it in that way.
And then there's the whole violence in school thing, which,
well, God.
This is years. Okay, so this was what, 1989?
When was Columbine?
Columbine was 98, maybe 2000. I don't.
It wasn't 2000. I don't think. I feel like it probably was like 98.
Because I was in college.
Yeah, I was in college as well, and I feel like you had
99.
Yeah, and so I feel like it was about 10 years later.
Yeah, but
the fact that he wears a trench coat,
right? But the imagery in this, the fact that he brought a gun to school, no problem, just carried it around with him, no problem.
He shot blanks.
Yeah, in school and still was able to go to school the next day.
Right. Like it was I almost felt like in this, it was almost taken as this is such a ridiculous thing that we can use it as common, you know what I mean? Like an extreme thing that would never happen. So using it almost as like commentary for other, other things, using it as like a character thing. But I think that's the most striking thing to me is that when this movie was made, the idea of that kind of violence happening, I guess, wasn't taken as seriously.
No. Well, I feel like obviously
happens. But I think, like that whole song, "I Don't Like Mondays," is about like a school shooting that happened, I think, in England. And it was like I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, and I'm about to spew some possibly fully inaccurate stuff, but. I think that song "I Don't Like Mondays," which is from the 80s, is about a school shooting that happened in like England.
Okay.
So maybe it wasn't an American thing, I
also think too. The thing that made people really look at it was Columbine.
Oh yeah.
That was the one everybody heard about. You remember watching that on TV and everything like that. And I think that is very much the starting point for what now happens like regularly.
Yes.
In schools. And that was what, when this Heather's TV show was released in 2018, I guess they pulled it because it was very close to the time that shooting in Florida happened. Stoneman Douglas.
Yes. Oh, isn't it sad that there's just so many that you can't even think of the school names
right
anymore? But that wasn't a thing when we were younger. That wasn't a thing in school, which is... And
metal detectors or people having, contraband like that in school was not a thing that you even thought about.
But you think about, that the whole reason why Christian Slater was killing the popular people and was, the movie culminates with him wanting to blow up the entire school with everyone. And he's fully doing it as a commentary about society. Like he talks about that being the thing.
Right.
And I feel like, I know when Columbine happened, it was very much connected to their feelings towards certain groups. And there's been the other shootings. It's very much connected to those feelings towards different groups. But like, I feel like now we look at those things like, oh my gosh, these are young people. They're, making these rash decisions, based on what, these things that are happening in their lives that, if they maybe grew up a little bit, they they wouldn't see it in that way. I don't know, but
Well, also,
I just think like with this though, they're elevating it to this place of like, oh, it is a comment. Like the whole movie's a comment on society.
right, and they talk about. I read this a little bit when I was kind of doing research on the movie. It was very much a statement on the United States' reaction to teenage suicide, and you kind of see that early on where they.
The real song, the big fun.
It's not.
Okay. Explain.
But they talk about how they blame it on the MTV video games or whatever. So that was very much of that time. Remember, that's when probably pretty close to the time that music started to get those parental warning.
Right. Well, that was typical war.
Right. That was the 90s,
that was
right?
the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
But you figure they started off in the late 80s, early 90s.
The boys down in Tennessee that were put in jail because they were accused of murdering the West Memphis Three.
Oh, right.
Who were put in jail because of, and one of the things was they listened to satanic music.
Well, Satanic Panic was very much of the 80s and then, things like that. So I think that definitely this movie was attempting to comment on more of the reaction to things that were happening in the 80s as well.
Sure.
Well, we're probably not super familiar with because we were just little babies.
We were little babies. I mean, Ronald Reagan was doing stuff. We didn't know about it.
And we thought he was all right. That was when you still thought your president was cool. And you were like, yeah, this guy.
Although I have to say, I take great pride. And I remember there was like an election where it was the election where it was Ronald Reagan versus Walter Mondale.
Uh-huh.
And we were in elementary school at the time.
Okay.
And they did a whole thing where, because computers were also new then, because again, we're really old. That's the running theme for this. And they had set up a Commodore 64 computer in the auditorium, and every class got to go in one at a time. They tried to like simulate going into a voting booth.
Okay.
And you got to go in and like pick one or the other.
Uh-huh.
And Ronald Reagan won big time, but I voted for Walter Mondale, not because I knew anything about it at the time. I just liked the idea of it being someone different.
Uh-huh.
And that was it. Like, it was just like, no, I'm going to vote for the new guy, the new thing.
Right. You were very
anti-society. I feel like I was probably the only one in the school. Like, he lost so roundly in the school. I may have been like the only little kid that was like, went the other direction. So I'm just saying that I'm cool.
You are cool.
Is what I'm trying to
Super
say.
cool. Super cool.
Sure. I'm definitely a Winona.
Oh, also one thing, and this doesn't really have to do with the train of thought, but I really found this fascinating, is the main Heather.
Yes.
She says at one point, do you have a brain tumor?
Yes. I looked this up during the movie.
She actually died
of a brain tumor.
Of a brain tumor.
At 32.
In 2001.
Yeah, she was really young.
How crazy is that shit?
I know.
I know. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
I know. Well, she was great at it.
Yeah.
I think but it's interesting to me because I think that, like, she goes to the big thing with like they go to the college party, and I don't know, you actually do see this sort of like sad side of her, where she thinks she has to go to this college party, but she's like essentially date raped at the college party.
Right. She thinks she's so cool and like advanced and old.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was very much a thing, like being older than who you were. I think we saw it in one of the other movies too. That girl was like, I don't date high school boys, I date college boys or whatever. That was a thing,
Right. Yeah, and so I feel like that was definitely part of it. I have to say, though, my favorite scene in the whole movie is when they're hawking loogies in the kitchen.
I know, it's really funny.
It's really
That's
funny.
the thing about this movie. I mean, we did laugh. Because originally I was going to go in and be like, well, I don't think this is a comedy. But it was. It's very much a comedy. It's very funny. I mean, there's things that happen that are very funny. It's
a great movie.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 100%. It's a great movie.
Like when they're going to kill the two jocks in the woods, like, and they're in their little tidy whities running around in their socks. I mean, that's funny. It's comedy.
Yes, that was funny. I feel like Christian Slater, man, I get it. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
Wow, so cute. So just
when I do see
handsome.
After watching this and the Jack Nicholson thing, it's very apparent. I mean, you're just like,
that was like a thing. Like, I really think that I mean, we could probably look up, but I think that they talked about that a lot when he was first becoming famous. That
And he has that husky voice, and
he talks just like,
and his very strong facial expressions and things like that. And you
the
think,
eyebrows too.
Yeah,
He's got, like,
yeah,
he does
yeah.
look like Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
Like he
so-
looks like a young Jack
he
Nicholson.
does.
He puts on the whole Jack Nicholson thing, but it's not to a point where you're like,
I don't think he's mimicking him. I don't think he's intentionally trying to be.
No,
like
but
him.
I wonder if like audiences from back then, I'm sure the parents of that time were like, "Oh, this kid's doing Jack Nicholson."
Yeah. Right.
No.
I think and at that time he was still pretty like relevant.
Yeah,
The Batman.
he wasn't the Batman for sure. Yeah, he was very relevant at
Mhm.
that time. I mean, he was I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Jack Nicholson was pretty famous. It's pretty famous. I mean, I don't know.
It's a bold claim, I'm like, oh.
I also enjoyed when, like, when you first meet this character and they're kind of setting him up to be like this mysterious, cool guy. And he talks about how he likes to go out and play his saxophone.
We never saw the saxophone though, thank God.
Well, right when he said that, I'm like, does he play sax?
I know.
Like, am I forgetting
thought
that
so,
he plays
too.
sax?
I was like, that's going to be the worst. It feels so terrible when it happens.
I know. Well, I thought that was interesting. Like also like the relationships between the parents and the kids were very interesting throughout this, where the parents were in no way like actual authorities within there. Like the main Heather with the red, like she was the one who held the power.
Right.
The adults didn't hold power. Like, the Veronica, Winona Ryder, her dad says like, why do I keep doing this? And she's like, 'cause you're an idiot.
Well, I think about that too. So Stranger Things very much commentates on that. When they look back at the 80s, they kind of commentate on the fact that the parents are like these like goofball, like secondary characters, and the dad's just like missing in action kind of thing, and they kind of like don't see the whole thing. And that was very much a comment on what it was like for how parents were represented in 80s movies.
But then I think you think of like everything being a reaction, and I don't know if, I mean, I think my parents were great. I don't think that they were, missing in action or anything else. They were very much involved. But at the same time, I think that there had to be something going on at that time, because when we were younger, they talked a lot about like latchkey kids was a thing where you would go home and your parents were at work, because moms were starting to be in the workplace now.
And and remember, like you would go outside, you could be outside until the street light came on, and basically, you kind of ran around and did your own thing.
Right. Well, and then you think about our generation of people who became parents out of that were like Gen X, raising kids were the helicopter parents.
Right.
So it's like everything's a reaction
Sure.
to, the generation before. But yeah, the parents in this. And then the weird thing is, what's his name? JD or Christian Slater's dad and him have like, they literally are switched roles, like in how they talk to each other.
Right.
Like he talks to his dad as if his dad's like his son, and his dad talks to him like he's the dad.
Right.
Like it's weird.
And then they talk, and that's where you also find out that Christian Slater's mom killed herself.
Maybe. Do you think she killed herself, or do you think the dad?
No. I don't know. I kind of took it that she killed herself, because he said she walked into the building 2 minutes before it was set to blow up.
So she knew.
Because his dad is in like construction and blows up buildings and things like that.
Right, but he's also like a little bit of a sociopath.
Yeah, he's fucking nuts.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right.
So.
And whoever did the set design in his house is like, it's like all like, what do you call it? Like they're not pyramids. They're like pillars.
Obelisks.
They're all Washington monuments.
Yeah.
See, a lot of Washington monuments, there's like gold snakes or like, he's got a radio that's made to look like a rock.
Yeah. So, one of my high school boyfriends,
one of,
we went to the store at the mall that used to sell crap like that, and he bought his parents one of those Washington Monument type obelisks for Christmas, and I was like, they don't want that. He's like, no, they do. I was like, all right, let's go.
They're like, but seeing them in this movie, I'm just like, oh God, what a terrible like.
Yeah, and there was like a lot of leather and then like workout equipment. Like you could tell.
Then there were boxes, because that was their whole thing. Like they moved from place to place.
Yeah, you could tell it was definitely like meant to look like two men live there and they don't know what they're doing. But they had some nice plants, and I don't know who was watering them.
Well, you know what else I thought was interesting? Because, okay, you have the first death of
Heather.
the first Heather.
Mm-hmm.
And the talk in the teacher's lounge is all about, well, should we cancel school or not? Okay, I don't think we're going to cancel school. If it was somebody else, maybe she's popular, so maybe a half day. But like, that's what they're talking about. It's like, should we cancel school? Like, what should we do?
Uh-huh.
But then when the boys kill themselves,
yes,
or they don't really kill themselves, but right. You know what I mean. When the boys die, who are both football stars, automatically they're like, school's canceled.
Right.
Which I was like, okay, that's interesting to me. That they were just, whatever. And
well, he said, the principal, we assume it's the principal, he was like, if it was a cheerleader, I could see having a half day or something like that, right?
Right. But then they have the other, like the art teacher is, I think they call her like a hippie.
Yeah, it's like new age,
right.
Very into like, everybody join hands and we're going to have a,
right.
Which was very popular in the 80s too. Like that whole new age thing was very like coming about.
Right.
And people it was mocked heavily.
It was mocked heavily, but I also think that it was like, again, the pendulum swinging in this like way different direction and going back to that Alice in Wonderland thing of like, everyone's mad here. Mm-hmm. And, Veronica being the only sane one who's just like, oh my gosh, all of this craziness, everybody here is crazy.
Right.
Like she thinks that JD is the other sane person, but it turns out he's insane too.
Right.
So it's like she's the only sane person in all of this insanity. And even when she has that kind of dream that the other, the Shannon Doherty, Heather, is killed, it's like they go to the funeral and everyone's like dressed in white and they're all wearing like 3D glasses, but it's like a cult. Mm-hmm. So I think that becomes the thing of, it's like everyone's in a cult. Everyone's just following everyone.
Because because when the people die, they become even more popular and killing yourself becomes like the popular thing to do and like the cool thing to do.
Right. So everybody's crazy. Everybody's insane. And I think in the end, when she takes power and she puts the red scrunchie in her hair, which I love a red scrunchie symbolizing of the symbol of power in this movie, but she puts the red scrunchie in her hair and she's fully just like, yeah, I'm
taking it back.
I'm taking it back. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so the whole premise of why we're talking about these movies is to kind of think of things in terms of how that may have impacted us or just young people watching this, because this was a super huge movie.
I think so.
Or was it like it wasn't like an art house. It sounds like it started that way, because didn't you say that it was first introduced at Sundance? So it probably was more of an art house movie, but it was pretty famous. I mean, it made Christian Slater super famous after this movie, right?
I'm trying to look up the box office for you.
How much they made in the box
office.
But I mean, I think it...
Oh, wait, listen. The film was considered a flop when it was released, earning $177,247 in its opening weekend and ultimately grossing $1.1 million in the United States over 5 weeks.
Okay.
So, you are incorrect.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it was a big thing that I feel like it's one of those movies that you knew.
It was very pop culture-y.
It was very pop culture-y. But was it pop culture culture-y among certain groups?
Maybe.
Like, I don't know if it had the wide popular appeal to it. Mm-hmm. So then I think of, what made us attracted to this movie when we were younger is probably that it is about, like, more that outcast side of
kids
things.
on the fringe.
Kids on the fringe.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I don't know that I necessarily picked up on, except this be like the popular people suck, was probably the message I took away from it. But I mean,
yeah, but also, I mean, that group of girls and is very like attractive. Like you'd want to be that. And
they're that, like, they're kind of mean. They do.
No, they aren't mean.
They are mean. Okay. They do the mean thing to Martha. They do like lunchtime polls, so like they're on the school newspaper.
Right. Oh, you have to have your extracurriculars.
Right. But they do go through that whole thing where you see all the different groups, like the stoners, the punks, the
nerds.
The nerds.
Right.
Yeah. which is, I guess that's just a running theme throughout, but
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
pretty. I mean, it's pretty accurate.
I think so. But I guess maybe because this movie didn't have the huge appeal, or wasn't as hugely popular according to the box office, but maybe just among certain groups. I mean, people
Yeah.
still talk about this movie.
I think so. I mean, within the time you watched the movie, you talked to your brother. Your brother was like, "Oh yeah, Heather's." Like he had seen it.
Right.
He's younger than us.
Sure.
My husband came into the room, and I was like, "Do you know what movie this is?" And he was like, "Yeah, Heather's."
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, that's everybody we know, and they all know it.
Case closed. So a great movie, though. I think I think that looking at it through, it's the thing that's most striking about this, I think, is knowing what has happened in our society since this movie with the violence in schools. I think makes this movie definitely harder to watch.
Yeah, seeing it being, old ladies as we've already established.
I hate this.
Me too. It's not the look I wanted for this.
I know, me neither. You're the one who started this. We didn't have to tell them at all.
They know. But yeah, so looking at it now, you're just, oh no.
Yeah.
It makes you feel funny.
Oh, when he stands up with the gun and he it's really like, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if kids who have grown up, like I think about my nieces who probably haven't seen this movie. So my nieces are all like, the youngest one is 18, up to 22. I don't know. Yeah, going to be 23. So I wonder, they have fully lived through a time, like their entire school experience was in the time where school shootings have been a thing that just is part of life now. Apparently, we've just decided that in our society. So I wonder how they would feel watching a movie like this.
Yeah. Yeah, not good.
Not good. They'd probably be like, Jesus Christ, what were you guys thinking back then?
How dare you?
I know. Like, yeah, like it's all because of you that we've had to live in this awful, fucked up society. Right. So overall, I give it a, strong, definitely controversial.
Oh, yeah. Confidently controversial, if you will.
So confidently controversial.
Real quickly, I just want to talk about some fun things in the movie.
Okay, good. Do it.
Let's talk about the fact that when Veronica Sawyer writes in her diary, she wears a monocle.
Oh my God, yes.
Which is weird and random, and she wears it on a string around her neck, and she
Does the White Rabbit have a monocle?
The White Rabbit? What?
She's leading us into Wonderland.
We Alice?
Are we Alice? Oh. I want white tights and black shoes right now.
Oh, man. I also like that they talk a lot about Swatch watches.
Yes, Swatch watches. Oh, my God. Swatch watches are so meaningful to me. And I don't know that they are to anyone else anymore. But there have been times over the past few years where I've gone on the Swatch website to buy them. Yeah. And I did buy my team at work Swatch watches, and I don't think they were, most of them were younger and they did not seem to care for them, but I was really excited about it. So,
Yeah. I think that I was on that team, and when I got it, I was like, oh, this is like dream come true.
Swatch watch.
Yeah.
I want to go and get myself another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other fun things? Any other to discuss?
Well, let's put, okay, that's the song. There's a whole song. They have a band called Big Fun.
Yes.
And that's like the popular band. And they have a song called Teenage Suicide, Don't Do It.
I know.
Which I did see has many lyrics. It's a full song.
Okay.
So.
And it was made just for this movie?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. It was, and that again was not my recollection of I remembered Big Fun being part of this, but I thought Big Fun was like Martha.
I thought that was her nickname.
I thought that was her nickname too.
Yeah, but they called her Dump Truck, not Big Fun. Right?
She wishes they called her Big Fun.
Right, yeah, Martha Dump Truck.
Aw, not for
Martha. At the
So
end, she's in her little jazzy, and she's all happy because she, is going to hang out with Veronica at the end. It's just great.
Well, because we didn't talk about that. Martha Dump Truck tries to kill herself, like legit tries to kill herself, but she fails at it.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, and everybody's just like, yeah, she's trying to be so cool, and she tried to be like the cool kids by killing herself, but she failed,
right? Which
is pretty awful.
Right. Well, again, not fun.
No, big fun.
Oh,
good.
I do like the quote, "Chaos is what killed the dinosaurs, darling." I have to say that.
I love so much about the stylized dialogue in this too, and I can see that very much attracting me as a young person as well to this. I love that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I love the and that also is very Alice in Wonderland, because Alice in Wonderland was about not just like, two other Alice in Wonderland things.
Break it down, Emily.
Things that are very big in Alice in Wonderland, and the way that book is written is that there's a lot of wordplay in that
book. Right.
And there's a lot of play with dialogue in this movie.
Yeah.
And Alice in Wonderland is also very much known for its symbolism.
Right.
So it too uses a lot of conventions to symbolize other things. Like, I believe like the painting the roses red means something in that book. And like, so I feel like I gotta think that I'm gonna Google this. This is my, if they haven't done a class on this, I'm gonna write freaking paper on this.
I'll take your class.
Okay, cool.
Well, also, at one point, I do believe that there's a flamingo on the set, like a statue of a flamingo on the set. I think it's in Veronica's house.
When she has like that dream about killing the other one, when they go into the thing, it is like Bizarre World, and the checker floor.
Yeah, and there's flowers, the big flowers and stuff like that are all hanging down. So
it's definitely Alice in Wonderland. I got you. I figured you out, Heathers.
I can't believe we're the first people to think this.
I can never think that I'm the first person to think anything.
Also, for this episode of what I'd want on my t-shirt, mother of shit. Just says that, and I like it.
There's so many great quotes throughout the whole thing. What did I say? Like, did we figure out if Winona Ryder and Christian Slater did date? I think she did. Winona Ryder was one of my heroes. She dated so many just like primo guys.
I recently really considered, like, I may have had a glass of wine or two, but I strongly considered buying a free Winona t-shirt.
Oh,
remember when that was like a thing? Because she's
super cool. I still stand by that she's super cool, but I have to say that her and Christian Slater have some major chemistry in this movie. I mean, I think that that's part of it as well. Like, they're good together. They're good together.
They're beautiful people. I thought it was interesting too how both her and Shannon Doherty, and I don't know if this was conscious or not, their skin was just made so like pure, like lily white,
right?
Which I thought was really like.
And they both have these like baby faces too, where it's like not like. I feel like nowadays it's so much more severe with, like the way
makeup and
sharp features are more the thing.
Right.
And both of them have like these just angelic faces and red rosebud lips. And
I wonder if you watched it again, if you would see that chain on Heather, like Shannon Doherty Heather. I wonder when she becomes more
heathery,
if that goes away. But anyway, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah.
Great pick, Kim.
I know. I loved it. I'm so excited.
Unless you have anything else you would like to say about this movie, you know what time it is.
Oh, yeah. It's Spader time.
It's Spader time. That's right.
All right. So we're pausing
We're going to pause, and just to remind everyone that what we are going to do is attempt to connect James Spader, great James Spader, to this movie. A la 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Let's do it.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and pause the film and see who can come up with it. Okay, we're back. I've done it again.
And again. I expect this to be a theme. My brain gets all broken when I do stuff like this.
I feel like it's all about like IMDb and like, like relax your mind. Just thinking of the other movies that people are in. All right, so I'm going to start with Winona Ryder.
Yeah, that's who I started with.
Winona Ryder was in a movie called Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
With Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton was in a movie called The Founder. Who was
McDonald's.
the McDonald's movie with Mr. B.J. Novak.
Oh,
B.J. Novak was in The Office, where James Spader played the most brilliant character of
something.
Robert
California. I knew this the other day. No,
I know. So I thought you would have it right there.
Mhm.
So we did it again. James Spader, connected to all.
Good job. I saw that Office and I was like, oh, that could be it.
I know.
But I was looking at Little Women because Winona Ryder was in Little Women with Christian Bale. And
Christian Bale. I never watched Little Women. Was it good? Should I go back and watch it? Christian Bale's in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's Laurie.
Oh, maybe I do have to watch this.
Little Women, I have a soft spot for it. So,
The book.
well, good job.
Thanks.
Congratulations. We all have.
Didn't they make a more recent version
Yeah,
of
they've
it?
made like so many versions.
But the one with Winona Ryder is...
Yeah, Steve's.
It's
I
Dee's?
think, what's that girl's name? Kirsten Dunst, is that so?
Oh my gosh, my husband and I were just talking about Kirsten Dunst last night, little Kiki. We were talking about her.
Yeah.
Forget why. Maybe it probably had to do with Ant-Man, because we watched Ant-Man.
She in it.
She's not.
Well, thank you. For that segment that I know.
With that, I have to say, this is a good one. Solid choice. Kim.
Solid choice.
This was great. And I guess until next time, to all of our listeners out there, stay confident.
And stay controversial, y'all.
I think, okay, maybe. Yeah,
No,
okay.
don't be controversial. Okay, it's terrible.
You just kind of be okay. It's okay. Whatever you decide, we
But
love
be
you.
confident whatever you're doing.
Yes, be confident. If you want to be controversial, as long as you're doing it confidently, we support you. All right, bye guys.
Confidently controversial.